What is up, everybody? Welcome to a Friday edition of ETR's NBA DFS Injury Analysis Show. I'm your host for the day, Sam Jaffrinia, making my injury show return, joined, of course, by Mike Gallagher. Mike, how you doing?
Doing good, man. You and I got a little Tom Thumb hike in. I screwed up just launching, establish the show, so we'll fix that. We're going to run that earlier today. And are we going to get sick of each other today? We went hiking today. We're going to do this show. We're going to do the injury show, and the DFS show. So a lot of Hike Boys content today.
That's right. And with that, let's get right into it. We'll start, of course, with the Bucks at the Pacers, Game 3 back in Indiana with the 5:30 Eastern start. Interestingly, but starting on the Milwaukee side, Giannis remains out. Chris Livingston also out, and now we have Chris Middleton listed questionable after he hurt himself last game. What are your notes for Milwaukee?
Yeah, Giannis got downgraded, so he's still doing on-court work, perhaps game 4, but getting ruled out, not a great sign, so it looks like they're going to miss him for 2. Chris Middleton didn't practice yesterday, so that's could be a concern. He did return from that ankle tweak. Worth noting, this is not the same ankle that kept him limited for a very long period of time. I always talk about that Doc Rivers quote where they said if it was a playoff game, he would have played, still missed like 3 weeks after that. So it's not that ankle, and it didn't look too bad. So expecting him in, but it's Chris Middleton. He takes forever to heal. So you'll keep an eye on him for sure. We'll probably get game time decision, all that stuff. If he didn't play, it gets tricky. We would think it might be Malik Beasley, it might be Jay Crowder, but Malik Beasley is down bad. He basically missed his second half rotation. We saw him play garbage time to get him to 10 minutes. Shout out to you for on the playback, Malik Beasley unders bets. Big injury there. But it would be a lot of Connaughton. I feel pretty confident that Pat Connaughton would be the minutes beneficiary. Whether he starts or not is a little bit unclear. I kind of think he would. And then more usage going to Bobby. It would be Dame show for sure. We'll see if he can kind of up his second half usage. He's been 40 usage first half, like 20 usage second half. So he's kind of worn down. So Beverly, more handling. Beverly's taking a lot of handling away from Dame. And then it would be just really tight if Middleton can't go. So yeah, and they need this one. After dropping that one at home, getting completely smoked. The Pacers have gotten so many edges on them, so they certainly need Middleton to play quite badly today.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, let's go to the Indy side, where nothing new on the injury front. Just Benedict Mathurin listed out as he's been out for a while now. What are your notes for the Pacers?
Yeah, not too much to say. The only note was they changed their rotation a little bit. We kind of speculated this on some show. I don't even know anymore what show it was. That they could boot out Jalen Smith and then replace him with either Isaiah Jackson or go small. They went small, which we spotted on the playback. Quite a profitable Tuesday playback if you guys are able to join. We saw Pascal at the table to sub in for Miles. We're like, oh, this means more Obi coming, and we bet some Obi's live that hit nicely. So expecting that again. It was great. They've been playing pretty fast. Obi had the fastest pace of any pacer on the court. So that second unit was playing pretty quick, which they want to do for sure, especially if they're short. Dame's like is Dame going to hold up? I think they're going to try to run him out of the gym here. So again, just massive edges here. They're winning like every category, rim stuff by a ton. And then transition, they're up, and then 3-point shooting. They are getting so many open looks here. They're most in the NBA playoffs, clean looks per game. So that spread moved from 4.5 to 6. And if Middleton gets ruled out, I'm probably going to snap take it at 6. I really like the way this Pacers team looks right now.
For sure. All right, let's get to our next game where we got the Clippers at the Mavericks for Game 3 with the series tied 1-1, of course. On the Clippers side, Kawhi is listed questionable after he made his return last game in Game 2. He's the only one on the injury report right now. What are your notes for the Clippers?
Yeah, not much. We saw Kawhi return, looked pretty sluggish in the first half. A lot of ISO game. That's been the Clippers' calling card. They've just been running crazy. Get the switch they want and then run ISO, like an insane amount of isolation possessions from them. But we saw him pick up a little bit, had that nice offensive putback in the second half. Tyler City kind of got a little bit more of a rhythm. I watched Kawhi's post game, and he's got a very good poker face in pressers. I will say that. He didn't sound like too confident in himself. They've had an extra day off here. Perhaps he gets kind of right. Minutes limits look to be gone. We saw him play like 7.5 ish through the first 3 quarters, and then they upped him to a 10 and change minute stint in the fourth quarter. So the minutes limit mostly came off. Maybe he plays 36, 37 today. And then other note is they play a little bit smaller here, despite Zubats playing pretty well. We saw a little bit of Russ mixed in with the starters, and which cut Terrence Mann down, which, we mentioned we were on that one too, that, Terrence Mann could get cut if he's not being effective, because they are very confident in Russell Westbrook guarding Luka Doncic. So very push and pull with the Westbrook and Terrence Mann stuff. And then James Harden, the drives kind of came down, which is a little bit of a function of Kawhi coming back and just taking the ball away from him a little bit. And then Paul George, a little bit quiet. He had to pick up a much bigger assignment. He guarded a lot of Kyrie, and basically everyone else kind of guarded Luka. It was a mixture of Terrence Mann, Kawhi, even Harden guarding Westbrook, I mentioned. So they basically, hey, Paul George, you go guard Kawhi, you go guard Kyrie, and then everybody else is going to guard Luka Doncic. So expecting a pretty similar game plan, since both these defenses were pretty good in the last game.
Yeah, it makes sense. And like you were talking the small ball stuff, I think that's what I'll be watching for the Clippers. We saw in that second half, they didn't even go to Plumlee at all. So kind of like how we were talking with the Pacers from the last game, where they could just cut him out and go 8 with Coffee as the 8th. So it'll be interesting to see how much they elect for the small ball. All right. Yeah. And with that, let's go to the Mavs side, where we got some injuries here. We got Olivier Maxence Prosper listed out, but he won't affect anything. Tim Hardaway Jr. is listed out after he left in the first half last game, and Daniel Gafford is questionable. So decent amount going on here. What are your notes for the Mavs, Mike?
Yeah, Gafford, we saw him get hurt again. This is a different injury. He hurt his ankle in game 1, hurt his back in game 2. Really short stint in the second half to get him out of there. Has not played well. Certainly possible that he is, he's going to play, but he could be really cut. You and I were talking about what his minutes range is today, and I said it's like 8 to 23. I don't think Gafford has a big ceiling. I think they want to play small. I think Maxi Kleber's impact on this game, now that Kawhi is back, is really, really important here. And they kind of trust Luka to be down low and rebound and all that stuff. So yeah, could see Gafford getting cut down. Derek Lively played pretty well. Mentioned, he's pretty good in that short roll if they do get aggressive with the pick and roll coverages. So I think they're comfortable with him there. So yeah, Gafford, as great as he was kind of going into the playoffs, has lost almost all his momentum here. And then PJ, really, really good defense throughout this game. Guarded Kawhi pretty well. Hit, a couple big shots in this game. 35 minutes looks to be pretty clear. We were waiting to see who was going to be the third Maverick to help out the 2-star guards, and it's quite clearly to me going to be PJ. We saw some PJ 5 stuff, had a couple rolls to the basket, but heavy spot up stuff for PJ. So yeah, mostly the same situation without Tim Hardaway Jr. was late to sub in. He was like the last man in the rotation anyways, as they went to Josh Green. So they're not going to miss him. Like that will get Josh Green in there, a little bit more Exum, and then as I mentioned, I think Maxi Kleber's minutes are pretty stable here.
For sure. Yeah, not great for Gafford. And I mean, we saw Lively start the second half of the last game too. And just, I think if he does play, he would probably start still. But I mean, he certainly hasn't helped this case these first couple games. Yeah. All right, let's go to our last game of the day, where we got the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Phoenix Suns for game 3. On the Minnesota side, we've got Kyle listed questionable. What are your notes for the Wolves?
Yeah, Chris Finch said that Kyle Anderson's status is, quote, to be determined. We were pretty on that on the DFS show. We thought that, and we were on it, thinking we're like, oh, Kyle Anderson might be 0 by the time his series gets to like game 3 or 4. Turns out it was game 2. So yeah, I don't think it's like a health thing. I think they just are better with their best player off the bench, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, playing 31 minutes. Just whenever Cat, like you and I were saying on the hike, it's whenever like the Cat foul trouble like helped the Wolves. Like Nickeil has been so good. They give themselves an extra defender to guard the 3 Suns guys. And he, clamped Beal a little bit. Booker got him a couple times, but Nickeil's been fantastic. He's their 6th man of the year, 6th man of the playoffs for the Wolves. But yeah, and we saw the coverages again. They keep doing that, pinching on the corners, close those gaps, don't let him get downhill. His drives came down. He's kind of going very east-west for his offensive attack, which is pretty tough to sustain. But he had an air ball, Cat had an air ball, and then they just went to Mike Conley, Gobert pick and roll stuff late, and put the game away. So yeah, really, really just a A+ game. And I'm burying the lead here because Jaden McDaniels, the plus 10,000 top scorer. Anybody who cashed that, I salute you, sir. That is, or ma'am as well. If you any ladies were nice enough to hit the Jaden McDaniels stuff. So yeah, he's going to play a ton. I think that the playoff whistle has helped him. He's been pretty physical, and they haven't been calling that. So the tighter whistle has helped him. But yeah, I don't think there's any reason to think the Wolves are going to change too much up from a personnel standpoint. Chris Finch loves to be ahead of the curve on adjustments, though. And he's an excellent in-game adjustment coach too. So there could be some stuff coming that we'll talk more about later. But obviously the Wolves are in a really, really good spot with this 2-0 lead, and 31-2 points off turnover edge is just unbelievably, and it would have been a whole nother game if that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, like you're talking about James minutes. I mean, you see here, he got to 41 last game, led the team, and that's even with, losing some minutes to garbage time. You can see, those bench guys. So, it's kind of what we say with him. If he can avoid the fouls, they'll let him out there. But, it's always a tough question with them. All right. And with that, we'll go to our last team of the day, the Phoenix Suns, where Damian Lee remains out, and Grayson Allen is questionable again after he left last game again early with an ankle injury. What are your notes for the Suns?
Yeah, unlike Middleton, this is the same ankle that Grayson hurt in game 1. That's not good. It looked terrible, but he did media. He said he's feeling better. There's some clips of him shooting around. There's nothing of him like running full speed. He still didn't do everything in practice, so he's clearly limited. So there's a chance he plays. We're gonna have him in projections. Probably the most doubtful, questionable tag, if that makes sense, just because, again, an aggravation. So, yeah, if he didn't play, the easy stuff is we would see a ton of Royce O'Neal and Eric Gordon. Would expect Royce O'Neal to start. That would also change the matchups a little bit with, Cat probably guarding Royce, and they'd put Ant back on KD. Obviously, they're going to put Jaden on Booker. That's an interesting note. And then Eric Gordon would play a ton. They'd have to play Eubanks. Eubanks took late minutes from Nurk when this was still a ball game. Nurk looks awful. Like he's too slow in the pick and roll. They make the switch and it's just like done. They can't. Their offense is so stagnant when they're bringing Nurkic into actions. They just can't get clean looks. 20% of their shots are tightly contested, 10 plus foot shots. That's very, very, very bad. It's going to be a grind. I expect very, very, very high minutes out of KD, Beal, and Booker. Booker just not himself yet. Beal not aggressive enough. Can't get space. His drive game's not there. Booker's drive game's gone. It's all bad for the Suns offense. They've got to fix it today with some new wrinkles that they certainly need here. And no transition. No transitions killed them. We saw when Booker was popping off, went for 47 in the Denver series. He was heavy transition. So losing that component has really, really slowed down this offense.
Yeah, makes sense. And one thing, I'll be watching for it too is, game 1, they mixed in a decent amount of small ball, but you can see last game between Nurk and Eubanks, they filled all their center minutes. So it'll be interesting to see how they attack that in game 3. And that will do it for all the games for today. Yeah. Mike, tell the people more about what they can find behind the paywall.
Yeah, so behind the paywall, it's going to be you and me breaking this down with a little bit more detail. We'll bring the Sea Turtles back. Not a good day for the Sea Turtles yesterday. Some good takes, some bad takes, a lot of bad takes, especially the Cavs. I can't even face listening to taking any Cavs content after betting the Cavs yesterday. That's pretty exciting. It is starting at 4 today. Don't forget, we've got the early slate today with the 5:30 start. So we'll see the subscribers behind the paywall at 4 Eastern, 1 o'clock Arizona time or Pacific time as well. And then, of course, for you guys listening, if you want to keep this content free, we are trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. We're getting there. I think we could do it. Our props are crushing. So, keep this stuff free and keep the vibes rolling here. Smash the like button, press it, whatever you want to do. You can stare at it, but eventually press it. And then also, hit the like button and all the subscribe. We would really appreciate it. So that's going to do it for this edition. Really appreciate you guys watching and enjoy your weekend. I'm finally done writing content. I'm not writing matchups tomorrow. So appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you guys next time.